From the palatial Mars Studio in the heart of San Francisco, a Kiff and Ang production. It's the Kiff and Ang podcast. Online at kiffandang.com. Sign up to be a Patreon so they can start paying me. Kiff and Ang.
Today we have got a secret show for you. And that's because today we're going to be talking about some secrets. And maybe how secrets aren't always the healthiest thing and how it's kind of nice to not have secrets anymore. Happy Pride Month. Welcome to the Kiff and Ang podcast. Hey, Ang. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm wonderful. It is Pride Month, and here at the podcast, we recognize that a lot of people take advantage of Pride Month to kind of further their, whatever they're selling, whatever they're doing. And we both really thought hard about, should we be a part of this podcast, Today, we're going to be talking about asexuality. Now, June is Pride Month in San Francisco, and unfortunately, the actual physical parade, the celebration of it where people get together has also been canceled, though I know in people's hearts, they're still celebrating Pride. And this secret show is a part of our Pride series.
Yes.
We are celebrating the LGBTQIA, that is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, asexual. And I don't know about you, but I've always kind of wondered, you get the LGB and then T's, you know what those are, but the
letters,
three letters, you're like, what's going on here with all these
and
letters?
how many letters are there going to be?
Letters? And I've heard that there's a lot more letters than this.
Exactly.
There's letters within the letters of letters, and I'm a straight shooter, and I'm sort of a straightforward kind of gal.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking about the A part of LGBTQIA. We're going to talk about the asexuality part,
which stands for awesome. No,
awesome.
It stands for
aces. They're often asexuals are often called aces. So
asexuality, aces, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
so sometimes you'll see somebody sporting an aces tattoo. It doesn't necessarily mean they play poker.
Oh, I never thought of that. Okay. Now there are, according to my one sheet here, 9 things to know about asexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Asexuality is a lack of sexual attraction, not attracted to anybody at all. And I feel like I've always known people that are kind of like that. They're just sort of
there's a spectrum, actually.
You know what I mean?
There's a spectrum.
Within
so
it.
there are people that experience sexual attraction, but only along with romance. Like there are aromantic asexuals that only if the romance part, and I'm talking romance can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people, but
sexual
in modern
attraction
day
can mean a whole lot of things to a lot of people.
Exactly. But in this situation, it definitely doesn't mean one night stand.
That's legit. See, I'm a monetary sexual. I'm really turned on. That's a lie. I would
There's a new one to add.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm a hobosexual, to quote Portland, Portlandia. No, keep going.
So that was 1 and 2. Asexuals can experience romantic attraction to somebody. So
you can be asexual, but also be a romantic attraction to somebody. I see that.
Exactly.
But just not like, hey, my little bits and pieces are tingling when you walk by.
No,
it's more of a heart thing or a brain thing.
Right. So and an aromantic can be an individual can feel either sexual or romantic feelings for any one of the opposite sex. And then that's where it gets kind of strange. So asexuality is a sexual orientation. There are some in some weird little argument that believe that your lack of sexual attraction precludes you or excludes you from having a sexual orientation. Does that argument make sense? That if you don't have sexual attraction, then you're just not part of the argument to begin with.
Well, get
So,
married for 20 years, y'all turn asexual. Keep going.
right. So, but now there's an argument. Asexuality is not celibacy. So I grew up thinking that celibacy was not only a choice, but at times even a calling. I believed that there were people that were celibate in my mind. That was the word I used instead of asexual, that wanted to be nuns or wanted to be priests or wanted to be religious because that part of their life was absent. So celibacy, though, is a decision to refrain from sexual activity, whereas asexuality is not a decision. It's also not a mental disorder, which some people believe that trauma causes women or men to be asexual, that you suffer from something called sexual aversion disorder because a trauma occurred in your life.
Like the old frigid women kind of a deal. But
Exactly.
but it's a legit thing. Like, just not into
Exactly.
it. Your old
Exactly.
auntie just wasn't into it.
That's one of the possibilities,
Yeah.
but not actually. It may not be a psychiatric sort of thing. There's also the hyperactive sexual desire disorder. Both disorders mentioned have anxiety towards sex, where
Oh.
asexuals don't have anxiety, they don't have attraction. So these other mental disorders may experience attraction, but the confusion begins because of the trauma, thus causing the anxiety.
I see. So asexuals are not afraid of intimacy. Asexuals can be in relationships. I mean, you could be married with 20 kids, and just because society said that that's what you should do, and it just sort of felt right, or maybe you had a romantic connection with your partner, who knows, financial. Either way, you can be intimate with somebody and still not be physically attracted to them. I don't know if that makes any sense. I mean,
It does make sense.
absolutely it makes sense, because I
if
am completely physically attracted to men, and I've just had sex just for the intimacy of it, not for the other bennies. Does that make sense?
And there are probably asexuals that love everything about a human being and
Mhm.
want to give them, and just because an asexual doesn't have sexual arousal
Absolutely.
doesn't mean that having sex, the act itself, might not be physically
Yeah.
pleasurable, or that you would enjoy allowing your partner the intimacy that they require. So there
My husband
again,
hates
we're
me giving me
sort of
foot
on a
rubs, but
spectrum.
yet he does it.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and you know,
Statistically, there's not a lot of asexuals in this world, though. Like what?
now
Like,
asexuality, I think, has been around for as long as sexuality has existed, and that there have been places that people that are asexual, or terms for people that are asexual, that might have been used through history that we just weren't aware of. You
yeah,
know, there were women, you mentioned the word earlier, frigid.
yeah, like frigid women or the
Yeah,
spinsters, the old aunts,
yeah,
or
or
confirmed bachelors,
exactly,
In my
exactly.
head, I always thought, oh, they're secretly gay, but now, your mind is a little more open. Like, well, not necessarily.
We're moving on to the next section for you, which is questions for an asexual.
Okay, well, if I'm asking questions for an asexual, and I need somebody to ask. The opinions and topics discussed in any Kiff and Ang production or show are meant to be controversial, provocative, and possibly create a conversation that is not already being had. The most important thing to remember about this production is that it has zero educational or historical value other than from a purely popular parody perspective. By listening to this podcast, you understand that it is solely for entertainment purposes. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, scholarship, and research. Kiff and Ang Productions is meant to provide parody in an already difficult life. If you find no humor or entertainment in our productions, well, for goodness sakes, don't listen.